what do I have that I never thought I could actually give and make impact beyond my cash? What are those?
I mean, it could be just about anything. I mean, just about any commodity you can donate, and you can be generous with that. And
Who would have thought?
Like I tell people, it's the best job I've ever had because I get to give other people's money away, and help them be more generous.
Yeah.
Discussions in this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and SmartPro Financial are not affiliated.
Hey, welcome to SmartPro Radio. Today we have a very special guest in-house. I love when we do these conversations with somebody local here in Sarasota, but it's going to be a conversation that's broader than just our Florida audience. And it's going to be about something that typically we don't talk a lot about in our industry. But if you're a Ramsey fan, you know this, because baby step 7, the end of the line of the baby steps, is to live and give like no one else. And so we have somebody that's an expert in this space, which is Paul Cooper. He's the president of A Greater Way to Give. And we're going to talk about giving. How does that actually work? How do you find the right places to interact with that? And what does it look like with your finances? So Paul, welcome to the studio. Welcome to our office here in Sarasota.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I always enjoy being here, and thanks for inviting me.
I think, the best way to start out is to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and the industry that you're in and how that came to be.
Yeah, so just to go back a little bit, I was in the corporate world after college and did that for many years. Worked in an IT company, a multinational company, and really it was during that time that I started to have a proclivity for finance and learning more about generosity. And fast forward, God opened the door for me to be a stewardship pastor at a local church. And that was my first really foray into giving and generosity and doing that, from a biblical worldview. And so I did that for many years and really enjoyed it, as we went through all the Dave Ramsey classes and put the whole church through the Dave Ramsey program, and was just a phenomenal success for our church and in the growth of a church, which I think allowed us to grow from 2 campuses to 9.
Wow.
And so, that the Dave Ramsey FPU program really was a catalyst for that, at least in my opinion. And so, but, God was really stirring in me and, trying to figure out what was kind of next. We put the whole church through the program, and just kind of as God works, I was introduced to the CEO of A Greater Way to Give. And I was introduced to him because someone donated a car to the church, and I didn't know how to handle the gifting of that. And so I got to know our CEO, Brian Green, and Brian said, look, we can manage that for you from A Greater Way to Give. And so I said, sure, let's give it a shot. And figured if it didn't work out, it was no big deal. It was just a Toyota Prius. And so his organization was able to handle all that and handed me a check and said, here you go, and liquidated the asset for me. And that was really my first foray into non-cash gifts.
Sure.
And as the years progressed, we had more and more of those kind of things happening, and giving properties and houses and stock and you name it, right? Mm-hmm. And this is, again, about 15 years ago, which is kind of relatively new to the church space.
Sure.
And so fast forward to a few years ago, I felt the call to make a change and wanted to be full-time in this space. And so came on board at A Greater Way to Give, and about 18 months ago, and has been just a phenomenal experience for me to be able to work with our donors and helping them be more generous.
So when you got a car donated and you said, okay, what do I do? I mean, is your thoughts just, I guess I put this online to see if we can sell it, and then we have the cash and that's it?
Yeah.
Because it's not as easy as you would think. Do we give this to somebody, hey, who needs transportation? So I mean, what went through your head at that moment of, oh, this is great, but now what do I do with it?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know what the next step was. All I kind of thought was this is going to be a lot of work for me and probably not a lot of return.
Sure.
And so was it, finding somebody who could take it to the auction or put it on Facebook or something, but didn't really see what the ROI was going to be, the amount of time and effort I was going to put into it to what the money I was going to get back.
Sure.
And so helping hands and a greater way to give was really such an easy process that I didn't have to do anything. It was basically, here's the car, you guys deal with it, and then a few days later I get a check, and it was like, that's it. There was no work on my end, and they were able to process that for me. And so it's really a simple process that they were able to utilize because we are the experts in that. And so I've been doing it for about 27 years. And so,
so this is not new.
No, it's been around for about 27 years.
Okay. So reputable organization that's doing good for a long time with a heck of a track record.
Right.
And on your end, I want to go back to, as you talked about FPU, briefly at the church, and you went from, hey, we were two campuses, or there's two campuses at the time, to 9.
Yep.
And this was no small endeavor. This was that you were part of a team that this was church wide.
Right.
And a large church, you got 9 campuses, this is a large church, right? Even at that time with a few, it's still a large church. What was that like how many people did that go through that?
6,800 people
68
at the time, which was
one time.
82% of the weekend attendance.
Wow.
So we had the program for the kids, middle school and high school, and the adults. So we kind of did the whole family together. So everyone was talking the same language and was able to interact together on the program.
The reason I find that interesting is because putting that many people through FPU at one time can make a large impact at once.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I find working with clients is that it's not that clients don't want to give, it's generally they have no margin in their budget to give.
Right.
They're giving to, the mortgage company, they're giving to the college, loans, they're giving to their credit card company in the form of paying back debt. And because of that, they're like, I'd love to make an impact, but that's for people that aren't me. That's for the really wealthy people. That's for the person that you hear about when there's a capital campaign and they're going, well, this person put up $1 million of their money and, we'll double it if we can, get matches from the other 5,000 people. And everyone's like, I guess I can give $20, right?
Yeah, right.
And so giving, if not intentional, for a lot of people can be difficult. When you talk to pastors, which you have several, when they give you the statistics of who actually gives in a church, it's relatively small.
Yeah.
It's not the big number. You think, oh, I guess everyone probably, no, it's not. But people, I feel like no matter who you are, whether you're in church, not Christian or not, you want to give back. You want to be able to provide value for the people around you. You want to be able to make impact beyond just your small circle.
Right.
Not that circle is not important, but how can I make bigger impact?
Right.
in my community and in my environment that I'm in? And this is a way to do it. But it's a way to do it that has some actual strategic value behind it as well. So you get the benefit of how do I make impact in my local community, but how do I do it in a way that's beneficial tax-wise? How do I do it in a way that's beneficial knowing that the people in need are actually going to be the ones receiving the donation? I think of a TV show that I watched a long time ago when you talk about that car story. And it was called Top Gear, and it's a super popular TV show, and it takes place generally in Europe. But they did a episode where they came to the United States. They got these old beat up cars, and they drove them from Key West to New Orleans. So when they got to New Orleans, like, what do we do with these cars? They just gave them away to people. Right, here's the keys, you can have it. And at the end of it, they did a little disclaimer, and they said, actually, the organization got sued for just giving away a car. And I thought, how is that possible? How can you give this to somebody and then you're somehow in trouble, right? Like that makes no sense. I didn't even know that was a possibility. And so I think about, those type of things and getting turned off going, well, I'd like to give, but I just don't know how it might hurt me. Right. Which is a way that I don't think most people ever think about. But in your situation with the car and finding an organization that can actually give something that's not cash, that's most people, I got to give cash. We're giving a thing. You can actually make that happen with your organization. Can you speak on that for a minute? Because when we talked, you said the amount of gifts that are non-cash gifts are way more out there than a lot of people's ability to give cash.
Yeah. Yeah, I think statistically, anywhere between, I've seen statistics from 90% to 97% of all assets in the U.S. are non-liquid. So stocks and bonds, cars, properties, things of that nature. Yet 92% of all of our giving to nonprofits is cash. So in a sense, cash is probably the worst thing to give, but yet that's what we do. We're used to it. It's easy. We can go on an app, we can click, and it's done. But what most people don't realize is there are opportunities to give and give more generously by using a non-cash gift option. And so that's where we come in and work with the nonprofits and individuals to help people be more generous. They're paying less capital gains taxes, and they're taking the savings and giving more to the nonprofit. There's no more money really out of your pocket as a giver. But more money is going to the recipients. And so you're able to be more generous without actually giving any more money.
So when we talk about non-cash gifts, can you, and you rattled off a few, can you give examples of what those are for people listening right now? They're like, okay, what do I have that I never thought I could actually give and make impact beyond my cash? What are those?
I mean, it could be just about anything. I mean, people can donate their business. You can step down businesses, pay less taxes, even if you want to give it to your kids. There's algorithms and things that you can do to be able to pay less taxes when you're in the sale of a business. We have people who donate lots. We had someone donate 150 lots in Palm Springs. Lands, yeah. You know, we turn around and sell to a developer. You can do offices, and we have a ranch in Texas. We have farms. We have fruits and vegetables. We have cattle. I mean, just about any commodity you can donate, and you can be generous with that. And,
who would have thought?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
And they're all, totally legal by the IRS standards.
Yeah.
There are, we have to do due diligence to make sure that it's legitimate, but it's not very difficult. It's something that, as long as people are educated and hear the options out there, that's all we're trying to do is educate people.
So let's go to the other side of the equation. You have people's generosity, but what's the benefit beyond generosity then? Because there's a lot of things you just labeled. Like if I had raw land that I said, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I could sell it, but I don't know. Right. Or I could give it. Why would I give it instead of sell it?
I mean, the benefit of it, right? So we are a nonprofit. So if you donate to us, you're going to get a tax receipt for that donation. If you sell it, and then you give the proceeds to a nonprofit, you're going to have to pay taxes on that. So if you donate the piece of property, you can donate a portion of it, so you're paying less taxes. You get the benefit of both the sale and the tax deduction, where if you sell it, you're not going to get any kind of a tax deduction.
Interesting.
There's all kind of unique ways that you can sell one business as an investment or a property and buy another one, and what they call a 1031 exchange. Those are things that are more intensive, and people who are doing that just flipping. We're talking more of, I have a big tax liability coming up this year, and I've got to give a portion of my assets away. That's where we can really help you and help you pay less capital gains in those situations.
Interesting. So the next question I would have is, are you guys this intermediary between my need and want to give and the benefit of giving and doing it in the right way and reducing taxes? Do you find the next side of it, which is who to give it to? Or is it giving to the organization? Or do I have to have somebody in mind that I want this to be impactful for?
We can do it any way. So in most cases, people typically have a nonprofit in mind that they want to bless and they want to give towards. And so that's probably the highest percentage. Every once in a while, we'll have somebody say, look, I just want to give the money away for the tax deduction. You can disperse it as you want. At that point, we try to help them drill down into what's their passion. Are they passionate about home homelessness or education or foster care, whatever the case is. And we try to then identify some good nonprofits that we've worked with in the past and we've vetted and we know they're actually going to make an impact with that donation. So it can be either or, but I would say most cases people typically have some kind of a idea in mind of what they want to give to. And again, we can do international, we can do it local, anywhere in the U.S. We can do it anywhere basically. So you may have a missionary, and we have we built a college in Zimbabwe. As an example, we have missionaries in Kenya and India and all over the world that we can do based on giving from the U.S. And then we can give it over to them.
No, that's really interesting because I feel like for a lot of people, I don't know if they always know or have in mind, where does this go? And I want to give, but I'm skeptical of the organization I'm going to give to.
Right.
Am I going to give to something that the majority of the money isn't going to the people in need? Is it actually going to go to them? Do those people in need actually need it? And it becomes one of those things where I think skepticism and that negative thinking can come in and like, you know what? I'm just going to look out for myself. And we try to encourage people. And then obviously through the Ramsey program, the encouragement is, hey, you need to be able to give. Like part of building wealth isn't just so you can amass as much as you have.
Right.
It's to be able to make impact on the people around you. And there's so much science now coming out behind giving about how people that give actually it changes your mindset. It changes your view on money. It changes your view on risk. And it has all these positive benefits that are out there. And so it's interesting to be able to find an organization that not only can be this pass-through that helps you do it in a way that's correct and legal and beneficial financially, but also can help identify and vet places for it to go.
Yeah.
And I like that idea of, hey, instead of us just taking the money, let's help find what you're interested in and passionate about so we can at least give you some options that are out there.
Yep.
If you're interested in helping homeless, it's different than just giving somebody $100 and saying, here you go, at an intersection, right? It's like, okay, how do we actually help this problem?
Right.
And here's organizations that are doing it and here's how. I think that's really impactful and a big part of the story because, like I said, the amount of people that we do financial plans, like, well, where do you want to give? Like, I want to, I just don't know how.
Right.
Or where.
Yeah.
And if it's legitimate or not, right? And so to have the backing, especially the years of experience and then the knowledge of this space to identify, like, here's where you should look at. We know because of the experience that we have is incredibly beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll mention with that, our experience comes down to, again, 27 years ago, our founder was Terry Parker. Terry Parker's a prominent tax attorney in Atlanta. And then also the founding board was Ron Blue and Larry Burkett, right? So I think your listeners probably all know who Larry Burkett is. Dave Ramsey obviously mentored by him. And so these were the three preeminent people kind of in that space, 25, 30 years ago. And so Terry Parker was one that fought the IRS for the public ruling on donor advised funds, which is what we utilize a lot, through our giving. And again, probably a lot of your listeners know what a donor advised fund is, but in case you don't, that's an opportunity that the IRS allows for us as citizens to put money into an account to be able to give to nonprofits. And it can sit in there for as long as you want it to sit, but you can never take it back. It has to go to a 501c3, but you get the tax deduction right away.
That's right.
It's a great opportunity for people who are going to be hit with a higher tax threshold to be able to give and to give it to a nonprofit. So that's Terry Parker was one of the instrumental people in fighting the IRS for that ruling so that we could be more generous in this country. Obviously, in the U.S., we're the most generous country in the world, in the amount of dollars and per capita, right? We outgive almost all other countries combined. We're very generous people, but we're just looking for ways to be able to help them to be more generous in the dollars that they have to give away. And so we definitely have the experience, and the people who have started our organization are kind of the godfather, so to speak, of the financial space.
That's right.
Discussions in this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only and should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research Incorporated, a broker-dealer, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors Incorporated, a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and SmartPro Financial are not affiliated.
Yeah, and some of those names you mentioned, Ron Blue, Larry Burkett, those are, pre-Dave Ramsey, right? Like that was the tip of the spear of personal finance and doing it and really in God's way prior to Dave. And then Dave picked up that torch and has continued on, and it will continue, beyond that as well.
Yeah.
So obviously with all this experience and the amount of impact you guys have made, there's probably some pretty amazing stories and things that are out there that you're like, oh man, this is what fires me up and excites me to do what I do. What are some of those stories that you could share?
Wow. I mean, there's so many cool stories, some that are, heartwarming and, some that are just fun. I'll tell you one that's fun. We just did about a year ago, well-known country singer named Walker Hayes. And I'll give you a brief background. Growing up, got married, had a bunch of kids, didn't have a car big enough to transport them. A pastor in his community found out about it and donated a car to him. And so now Walker Hayes, in his fame, he's using that as a catalyst to help people be generous to give, not just to buy cars, but for other things. So fast forward last year, there was a janitor in Terre Haute, Indiana, who was trying out for America's Got Talent, but didn't have transportation to get to the tryouts. Walker Hayes, people heard about it, worked with us. We bought the guy a car, drove out to California, ended up winning America's Got Talent. His name's Richard Goodall. Ended up giving all glory to God for the situation, how this, all transpired. All goes back to years ago from this pastor who heard about the guy who didn't have a vehicle, bought him a vehicle, became famous, now passing that along to others, and we were able to help him and this guy, be able to now get on the stage where millions of people heard him talk about Jesus and how without him he wouldn't have been there, right? So that's a cool little thing, and and I actually just got to interview Walker Hayes a few weeks ago, and just seeing how excited he got when talking about that, like it just excited me to see how excited he was. Sure. He's again, famous country singer. I'm sure he has a lot of, cool stories in his life, but the one that really excited him the most was telling the story about giving that guy that car, through his foundation. So that's a great one. Kind of a sad one. A couple years ago, the Kansas City Chiefs won the Super Bowl. They had a parade and there was a shooting and a mom was killed. Through some donors, we were able to help cover her medical costs or for the funeral expenses, but then also able to purchase or fund 529 plans for their children so that when they get to college, they have a plan in place for them to help them. So terrible situation, but some donors made it into a positive thing for those children to be able to go to college one day when they grow up. So there's hundreds and hundreds of those kind of stories that, of people who are just want to be generous, aren't necessarily doing it for the tax benefit, but if it's available, we want to as well utilize it as well. And so there's just thousands of those kind of stories all around the world that, we've been able to help people. And it's just exciting. Like I tell people, it's the best job I've ever had because I get to give other people's money away and help them be more generous.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I find it interesting too, because, I'm seeing this through a lot of conversation that I'm having, and the negative side of not giving, the negative side of impact, where someone goes, hey, your vote doesn't matter. Right? It's one person. Hey, your investment dollars, wherever they go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. We did an interview with the CEO of Eventide, which is an investment firm that tries to invest their money the way biblically investing. And so they avoid companies and they engage with companies to change their policies and do things differently, right? A little like activist investing almost in a way. And they said, you don't underestimate the value of your investments dollars.
Yep.
Not millions, thousands, right? It doesn't have to be the person with, $100 million in an account that makes a difference. It's everyone added up can make a difference and change the environment. Don't underestimate the gift of a car.
Right.
People go, oh, okay. And I think to myself, like, how many cars have I traded in? The dealer's like, I'll give you a couple grand for it. And like, whatever, it's here, and I'm thinking, man, not only do I know I'm being ripped off when I do that, because I know that car is worth more than that, but what kind of impact can they have beyond just saving a couple grand on a car, that you're going to buy, and the greater impact they can have. Like, don't underestimate small things. Dave Ramsey says, don't underestimate humble beginnings, or don't despise humble beginnings, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. It's like, don't underestimate those little impacts that you can have, because they can go a long way. Just in the story of a simple gift years ago, they helped somebody out, they did it again, and helped somebody out, and was able to reach, what kind of impact with being on a show with millions of people listening,
right,
and go through that. So I just say that to our listeners, is like, be encouraged, because I think all the time we're told that you don't make an impact. Your dollars don't really matter. Those little things don't add up to mean anything, and that's just a lie. When you hear the stories, you're like, that's not true.
Right.
Like, it does matter. You can move things, and you don't have to be a billionaire to make it happen.
Exactly.
So I think, the next thing I want to ask you right now is, people are probably going, okay, well, how do I do this? Like, how does it start? How does somebody right now say, okay, you know what? I'm ready to be intentional about giving. I'm ready to do more with money than just spend it, send it to investments or wherever. We're an investment company. Like, we want people to be wise with money and invest it well. But we have a lot of people that are ready to go further. Like, what's that next step? And people go, hey, the last step is to live and give like no one else. I'm not paying, the debt collectors anymore, or debt companies rather. I'm not paying on the mortgage. I have that paid off. Like, things are good, and I want to make an impact. How do I actually do it? How do they do it? They go to a website and click a link and go, hey, I want to give some money. Do they go, hey, I have an old car I want to sell? Like, how do they actually make that next move from I want to okay, now it's an action?
Yeah, you certainly could go to our website and see more information and start the process. But I'd also recommend, contact your financial advisor. Obviously, if your listeners are probably working with you or one of your advisors or someone around the country, I would definitely reach out to them first and kind of come up with a game plan for what you want to accomplish. I think it's always good to educate yourself and come up with a game plan for the future. Maybe you're not able to give a whole lot today, but what's your goal? What do you want to do? So sit down with your spouse, come up with that game plan with your financial advisor, your accountant, a state attorney, whatever, professionals that you work with. And sometimes they don't even know, and so they may be able to have to do some investigating themselves. Some financial advisors are very familiar with donor advised funds and some aren't. It's not a question that they ask a lot on their exams, so
that's right.
You might have to have them dig a little deeper for you. But people can definitely go to our website, agreaterwaytogive.com, and on there we have all of our different organizations that we work with. So we work with individuals, we work with companies, we work with nonprofits. We can work with just about any iteration that you're looking to do. So it just depends on what space you're in and where you want to get more information at.
That was one of my next questions. Is obviously we're talking about individuals, but you just mentioned companies. How does a company give?
So there are, again, multiple ways. One of our ways that companies give is by giving to their own employees. So this was kind of a unique thing that was kind of the fastest growing of all of our organizations, and it was brought to us by some of our donors. A lot of our donors are business owners, and so they're giving again to nonprofits and individuals that they have a connection with. But they were saying, hey, we're giving to our employees out of our pocket. And is there a way that you guys can do that for us? Can we create some kind of a plan? So we've created what we call a corporate assistance program, or some people call it a CARES program. So basically the company puts money into a fund. It's similar to a donor advised fund, but it's different because you're not giving it to a 501c3, you're giving it to an individual. And they call it a pooled giving fund. So the company puts money into this pooled giving fund, and then when one of their employees is going through a financial crisis, they're able to give to them from that fund, and we manage that for them. So we have coordinators that will reach out to the employee, and they will provide them the bills, and then we pay the bills directly. So it's accountability to the company. The company knows that the money is going towards the need, which could be rent or medical payments or a car payment, whatever the case is. And that they're also going to get the tax deduction for it. So it's a way to bless their employees. It's a way for them to get a tax deduction. It's a way for them not to take money out of their own pocket as an owner or manager. You're not wasting time passing a hat around and asking people to contribute.
Yeah.
And you might raise $100, but
a
you're not
GoFundMe
gonna-
or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, and we do have, you mentioned GoFundMe. We have another option that we do just like GoFundMe, except again, tax deductible. GoFundMe is not. And then also, again, we don't ever pay the individual cash, we pay the bills. And so that's another one of our organizations, Helping Hands Ministry. So we can do basically anything. We say, if it's legal and can be done in the financial giving space, we can do it. And if we can't, we'll tell you we can't and it can't be done.
Yeah.
So whether, again, it's an individual, a nonprofit, a corporation, a donation of $50 to a project for someone who's going through medical bills, or you want to donate an office complex, we can handle anything from start to finish.
So the one you mentioned about companies, so we have a lot of business owners that are clients, a lot of business owners that are listeners. Do companies really do that?
Oh, yeah.
It's funny because you talk to benefits people, you talk to tax people, like I've never heard until we talked that was even a thing.
Yeah, it's common. Again, I came from the corporate world, and we did that for our employees, and we did a company match. So the employee could give pre-tax, to the designated nonprofit or charity, and then the company would match it. But it was going to a national organization. It wasn't staying local, and definitely wasn't going to the employees.
Sure.
That's how we were able to create this program by able to, with the IRS, to create this pooled giving fund. So
for employees, which that's the interesting one.
Right.
Because a lot of companies will say, our employees are our most important thing, right? Our team members, whatever, especially public ones, until it's not.
Right.
And then you see massive layoffs or whatever happening, right? Or, somebody's out for a prolonged period of time. Well, that's going to be a problem. And so this is a different way to look at that.
Right.
Completely.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the IRS classifies it as a person with the acronym is ALICE. It's Asset Limited Income Constrained but Employed.
Okay.
Right. So we're not talking about someone on the street corner with a sign asking for money. We're talking about people who have gainful employment. They have housing. They're contributing to society and paying taxes, but they just had a hardship. They didn't have the emergency fund, or they didn't have enough in it, and life happens sometimes. And it's obviously cheaper for the company to be able to keep a good employee than have to hire somebody else. So if they can get a tax deduction for that, while also blessing an employee, help them get back on their feet, then it's a win-win.
How is that mainly small companies, or is there big companies that do this?
We do multinational companies and we do local companies.
Wow.
So, small mom and pops all the way to, I guess it's okay to say Hobby Lobby.
Wow. Big opportunity there for people that are business owners to bless their employees that work with them. That's amazing. So lastly, I know there's some people that maybe they're more bent to be skeptical, right? And they'll say, well, how do I know where I'm giving to is legitimate? You talked about that, right? Like we vet this over time. How do I know that the organization is not gonna, when I'm trying to give, like not gonna rip me off when it comes to the expense of giving? Or how does that work? How does someone say, okay, I'm going to give land, I'm going to give a car, I'm going to give something that's a non-liquid asset? How do they know that they're doing it's a good deal for them? How do they know? Because they might go, hey, what do you take half? Like how does this work? Like how, as an organization, how does this work? Because obviously, to be around for 27 years, you have to be funded. There's got to be a way to stay in business. There's got to be a way for the people that are actually on the front lines to be able to eat at night and support their families. Yeah. So I don't think anyone has problems with businesses making money, but people can be skeptical about organizations and how they actually give and take from the participants.
Right.
Can you briefly tell us how that works for that person that's skeptical?
Yeah. I think a lot of it's trust. I think there's two things involved here: is education and trust. And I think being around 27 years, we built that trust. Again, who our founders are and what our goals are.
That's right.
So, and a lot of times we don't even charge a fee. So a lot of times we'll just tell the donor, pray about it, ask God what you want to give as a gift to help our operating expenses, and we won't charge you a penny. And yet God somehow continues to bless us, and we continue to grow and get larger each and every year. So that's only a God thing, right?
That's right.
I can't quantify how we do it sometimes. We just trust God and know that He's going to bless us. And so, like you said, we have salaries to pay, and people have to do the work and process it and do all that. So the industry standard is between 5 and 8% typically for these kind of projects. And so we've averaged, I think over the 27 years, we recently did a study and we averaged 12%. So we don't charge a penny, but yet God's provided us 12% growth, through these projects of 27 years.
That's really interesting.
It's amazing to see what God does, and you just never know, who He's going to bring through the door and how the whole process works. So, but I'm happy to have a conversation. Again, I totally get it. I was skeptical the first time I did it. And as I mentioned in the very beginning, given the Prius, I thought, well, no big deal. It's probably worth $10,000. If it doesn't go well, I'm not really out anything. It's not a big deal, in the scope of things. And so that was kind of my little test, and then moved up to, a small house and then a bigger house and so on. And so I'm living proof. It worked for me, and I wouldn't be working here if it wasn't legitimate, and I would have left, to come here. So
no, that's really interesting. So we talked about individuals, talk about organizations and companies. Somebody watching this goes, okay, you guys are in Sarasota. So is this only for people that are local? Is this for people that are in Florida? Or what if I'm in Kansas City and want to figure out how to give? Can they work with you?
All over the country. So we do have our original office was in Tallulah Falls, Georgia. We still have an office there. We have an office in Colorado Springs, but our main office is here now in Sarasota. But yeah, we work around the world. We do have a local foundation.
So internationally, you can help.
Yeah, we help internationally. Again, if you're giving from the U.S., we can help get funds international.
Interesting.
So you're not going to get a tax deduction if you're giving from Zimbabwe to the U.S. We can't help you there, but we can help facilitate the gift. But yeah, we help anyone from all over the country. But we do have a local foundation here that's specific to the Manatee and Sarasota counties. It's called the Minnesota Christian Community Foundation. And that's for those people who say, I want my giving to stay local. And so we'd love to one day be able to grow that, have one of these foundations in every community, a Christian foundation that helps just Christian nonprofits in their community and help them identify who they are. So we just had an event this morning where we identify a local Sarasota Medical Pregnancy Center. We educate our donors on what they do and why they do it and what the purpose of their organization is, and we ask them to give to them. Okay. We don't want to take the money like a traditional foundation and then we decide where the money goes. We want our donors to see and hear about these local nonprofits, and as God places upon their heart to give, we want you to give to them. So we're here to help facilitate. Again, if you want to do a non-cash gift, we can work with you in those kind of aspects. But if you're just going to give cash, then just give straight to the nonprofit. We don't need to be the middleman here. We want you just to hear about who they are. There's a lot of great local nonprofits that are doing great work in our communities that no one's ever heard about. And even as a person in the role that I was in, and I kind of worked in that space, I didn't hear about half of these organizations. And so it's amazing to see all the different things that is happening in our communities and how we're able to help people through this process. So that's our only entity that is just local. Everything else, if you were in a county 2 counties over and you wanted to give, we would do that through one of our other organizations, not through the Minnesota Foundation.
Okay. Oh, that's very interesting. So I love that it can be hyper local or global. Which is great. Because I know people that are called to do both and want to do both. So that's fantastic. Okay, so I'm listening to this. I'm ready to make a change. I want to be able to make impact in my community. I have opportunity to do this. What's the next step beyond talking to your advisor or accountant or estate planner? What if they're like, okay, I've done that and I'm ready? Is it just go to your website and look? And can you tell us again what that is and what that next step is of action.
Yeah. So again, the website is agreaterwaytogive.com. And on that website, you'll see all the different organizations that we have, and it'll help drill down to what specifically you're looking for. So as I mentioned, the corporate assistance program, you'll see on there Helping Hands Charitable. You'll click on that link, and that'll help you get information specifically to that.
Okay.
If you want to do the GoFundMe type project, that's Helping Hands Ministries. If you want to donate a piece of land or a business, that's Helping Hands Supports. All the different entities are listed on the agreaterwaytogive.com website. And then there's a contact us option there that you can ask a question and send us an email through that, or you're welcome to email me directly at paul@hhmin.org. Again, paul@hhm as in Mary, I-N as in Nancy.org. And I'd be happy to have a conversation or get you in contact to the appropriate person in our organization to help you.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. If you're out there and you're ready to live and give like no one else, then here's a great way to start. And so, Paul, thank you so much for your time and sharing the story with us.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of SmartPro Radio. I really hope you enjoyed it. Now look, you're not going to want to miss our next guest. Not only are they an author and a financial coach, but they're also the co-host of The Ramsey Show. It's Jade Warshaw. She's going to join us to talk about her brand new book, What No One Tells You About Money. I'm really looking forward to this conversation, so make sure that you do not miss out. Subscribe, like to SmartPro Radio Podcast. We put out new episodes on the first Monday of each month. We'll see you then.